A heartland in the southeast is home to a precinct for all sorts of categories, and QR, or Queensland the Sunshine State. They love their motorsport here.
Turn one, Lockie beneath to the outside.
A heartland in the southeast is home to a precinct for all sorts of categories, and QR, or Queensland Raceway, has become something of a statement piece. New life breathing through this amphitheatre while keeping the deceptively technical character it's known for. Plenty will try to master it this weekend in a true festival of the fast, where dream machines are pushed to the edge.
He's turned around and there's a big impact from the Grove car.
And marvels of engineering embrace raw power. There's emerging stars shining on the pathway. A celebration of radical thinking, the coolest collection of iconic marques. Welcome to the EVENTelec GT Festival Queensland, round 3 of the 2025 Shannons Speed Series.
The Aussie offering for the global GT formula has proven to be ultra competitive in 2025, and the Shannons Speed Series welcomes viewers now on 7 Mate live at Queensland Raceway. Greg Rust and Charlie Barlow with you. Cars are parked out in the lane here and getting ready to head out some stunning GT3 machines. We're in for a good afternoon of racing here, aren't we?
We certainly are, Rusty. It's wonderful to be here in what is a dry pit lane at the moment, because this morning we had some precipitation and it threw some spanners in the works. But of course not for Brock Feeney, who will be starting from pole this afternoon for the first race, the 60-minute outing.
All right, let's take a look at the schedule for you for the afternoon as well. That's worth keeping an eye on. We've got all sorts coming your way here on the screens of 7.
So 1:45, the challenge powered by AWS is race 1. They head out for 60 minutes. Then at 3:05 is the first focus, Radical Cup Australia. They head out for race 1. And then it is followed at 3:50 by the Monochrome GT4 Australia Series for their race 1.
Now, when we arrived at the circuit here this morning, those of you who are watching on 7 Plus would know that we were greeted with changeable, with damp conditions. We were headed for highs in the low 20s. But as the afternoon has kind of gone on, we've had sunshine sneaking through. It's become a little bit humid. There are some dark clouds around us here at Queensland Raceway, but right now it looks like we're set for a nice afternoon of motorsport here for you. Now, to set the scene, this venue is one of 5 options that are available at Queensland Raceway in terms of circuit configuration. So we're on the 3.1 kilometre 6-turn layout. To tell you a little bit more, why don't we jump aboard the Dale ITM Audi now? Here's Brendan Leach.
Hey guys, Brendan Leach here, and join me as I coach my co-driver Tim Miles for a lap around Queensland Raceway, making our way down the front straight across the finish line. First thing you're looking for is that big brake marker at turn 1. Fastest corner on the circuit, should I say. Turn in, late, hard, 4th gear corner. Can be a bit spicy, especially you see a little twitch there in the raining conditions. A lot of drifting on this track, so it's very, very greasy offline. So atypical, staying nice and tight on the wet line, being very careful of the curbs. Now making our way down the back straight here, some time to look at the scenery and have a think about life. Looking for that 150 board, hard on the brakes, down into turn 3 here. bit of a wiggle on braking there, some rear locking, some good rotation from Tim, and then hard on the TC and stand on the loud pedal and make your way down towards turn 4. Next one you're looking for is a side road on the right hand side. Up through the gears, hard on the brakes down here. Very slippery corner on braking here. Good spot for a dive bomb, and a very, very tricky one to get right. This middle complex coming out of here, again being super careful of these curves. They're so slippery in the rain, and yeah, definitely an opportunity to get something wrong. Making our way into the last corner now. Tight second gear corner, one of the new bits of asphalt on the circuit. Get the car rotated as sharp as possible, stand on the throttle and drive the thing across the finish line as quick as you can. I think out of 10, we'll give that one a 7.9. Good job, Tim.
He is a tough marker. Been a busy few weeks for Brendan Leach on the international scene back here in Australia now. The very accomplished Kiwi GT racer pairing with a fellow Kiwi who's now based in Sydney in Tim Miles. They're a very good combination to watch for this afternoon. But the story in the lead-up, of course, was 2 back-to-back qualifying sessions this morning. And for Brad Schumacher and for Brock Feeney, who you know currently leading the Supercars Championship, it was a good outing, wasn't it?
It really was. I think it shocked Brad Schumacher because he didn't even see that he would get it over the line on that time. And I remember when you spoke to him, Rusty, in the garage, he just said, wow, it all came together. And it was a bit of on the cusp of dryness. So everyone was kind of giving it a go on those tyres and seeing whether it would land. And it certainly did for Brad.
So we'll see pit stops unfolding in this race. We are set for an hour of competition for the GT World Challenge powered by AWS. Why don't we set the scene too by taking a look at what happened last time out at Sydney Motorsport Park.
We are back into action again at the home of motorsport in the Harbour City. We're at Sydney Motorsport Park.
We're ready, round 2, GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. Under lights at Sydney Motorsport Park, Ferrari versus Audi on the front row of the grid. Let's let them loose on the line.
All bunched up and ready. Final one of the weekend, GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. Gets it done, Leach down the inside. Those dive bomb moves. Love goes wide. That's huge. Someone's gone around, and that's the Brad Schumacher Audi.
Well, those were the highlights from Sydney, and now we look ahead to Queensland Raceway. I'm Cameron Van den Dungen, bringing the stories from down in pit lane, and one of those stories is a man whose fellow driver is on pole position, Brock Feeney. That's the best place to start for a race.
Yeah, it is for sure. It's our first dry laps of the weekend though now, so it's going to be quite exciting for not only us but the rest of the field. So yeah, pole for both myself and Brad this morning is great, but yeah, we want to win some races.
We've got an incredible audience on 7, mate, that have just joined us for the Shannons SpeedSeries. Take us through some of the challenges of racing this style of car, a GT style of car, versus what you've been traditionally used to.
Yeah, so these cars have ABS and traction control. So in the wet, it's actually quite fun because you can have a pretty scary moment and then it saves you quite late. But yeah, they're quite different to race. You can't really run into each other. They're quite expensive and it's quite hard to follow. But that's what makes it so good starting pole. So it's always a huge focus to qualify up the front. Hopefully Brad can get a good start and drive away and make it nice and easy for me.
Audis, Ferraris, Mercedes, what does Audi have? What's the advantage over the rest?
I don't really know the answer to that. Hopefully we'll find out. But I think it's been a pretty good, strong car, especially in the wet conditions this weekend. So to be honest, I'd be pretty happy if it kept raining. We're being really fast, but we're lucky enough to test here about a week ago. Not all the teams have. So hopefully that comes an advantage to us today. But we'll see how we go. Looking forward to it.
All right, we're getting closer for a race start now. Good luck to you, Brock Feeney. Let's go now to our commentators, Richard Crail and Thomas Randall.
Yeah, thank you, Cameron. And Brock Feeney, he's taken to GT racing like the proverbial duck to the proverbial pond, and he is unbelievably good in anything he drives. So we're looking forward to seeing how that plays out. But the AM drivers start this one, Thomas. It's set so well. Audi's on the front row on pole for the first time this season. A stack of cars right in the mix. The Ferraris there or thereabouts, but just not quite with that edge they had in Sydney. It's all written for a great afternoon's racing, isn't it? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Richard Crail. Good afternoon, everyone that's tuning in on our live coverage here of the third round of the 2025 Shannons Speed Series from the EVENTelec GT Festival, Queensland Raceway, as we call it, the paperclip. And look at all those beautiful GT3 cars lining up for the first race of two this weekend. And qualifying this morning was cracking, wasn't it? There was so much going on with the variable conditions. And what's interesting to note, Crailsy, is that no one's actually done any dry running yet this weekend. So all cars are going to be on brand new Pirelli rubber for this one. So I think on that outlap, everyone would have worked the brakes so hard. And at the moment, there'd be so much heat soak getting into the tyres to try and get some temperature in them because they're just trying to build up that temperature. And one thing we haven't really spoken about is what's the weather going to do? Rusty?
Well, you ask, and we'll endeavour to deliver here. Thomas, we know that you're a budding meteorologist, so just over Cam's shoulder here, we've got the latest radar coming in. I think Richard Crail talking to us during the ad break before we came live on 7 Mate, he said it ain't good. What do we think we'll get rain in this 1 hour race?
Oh, I just had a chat to the team at Audi Customer Racing and said, are we going to miss it? And they're like, oh, there's a fair bit of rain coming in that. So I don't know, Rusty. I think it's going to be a little bit wet.
Okay, a few minutes to go before race time. Why don't we just wander out into the lane here? I reckon I spotted a moment ago Paul Stokel. Here he is. So guy has huge credentials when it comes to single-seater racing and more in this country. In the KFC gear. G'day, nice to see you. What do we think for this one? Are you going to be jumping in when we get a bit of precipitation maybe?
Oh, it's not going to rain, I don't think, is it? I don't know, but it could be, yeah. But I don't know, hopefully get a good clean start. Gary's a well back, but we had good speed in the dry, so hopefully we can keep it there and stay thereabouts. And by the time I get in, I can deal with the conditions as they turn up, I guess.
Let's talk a little bit about the weekend so far for you guys. You talked there about being paired with Gary Higgin, obviously, and this is a combo and a team that you know well.
It is, yeah. I've done 3 years racing with KFC before I moved on with OnlyFans with Renee last year. And yeah, look, we've had success. We won the championship in 2023, I think it was. 2022 maybe it was. And so, yeah, we can do it. We just got to get out there and sort of do the job. So looking forward to it.
Okay, let's hope that you have a good run. We'll keep wandering here, Cam. I reckon I spotted Declan Fraser, who's at the wheel of the Aston Martin that he shares with Liam Talbot. We can hear cars firing up on the grid and about to make their way out. So we'll go to the commentator shortly. But why don't we grab Declan while we can here. His teammate Liam Talbot did something really cool yesterday, which we'll cover, and that is a $500,000 donation to the Children's Hospital Foundation. Excellent stuff from him. You got high hopes here in this Aston. I know it didn't necessarily go so well in Sydney, but there's been a bit of a refresh, a rethink here. How are we looking for Queensland Raceway?
Yeah, firstly, that donation from Liam, like what an amazing human being he is. It's really cool to see and great to be a part of and helping support this charity as well. So. Yeah, Sydney was rough for us, but at the moment we're on the right track. We had a bit of a rough quali again, but we found some things that we need to fix, and we're getting after it. We know how aggressive Liam can be out there, and we're going to get through the pack and get on that podium. We did it from last in Phillip Island, and we're going to do it again.
Man, it's a cool car, this thing. You enjoying this project?
Absolutely loving it. Being a part of the Aston Academy now, it's amazing. So have all the support for not only me, but also the team and also Liam. It's going to pay dividends, and we're going to get after a championship.
Go and enjoy.
Thank you.
We'll tell you more over our coverage over the weekend. Cam, come in about that academy story for Declan. He's not the only one in the GT field here that is getting those sorts of opportunities. This is the great thing about this class of racing, helping to open doors internationally.
And it does, not just for the young drivers that are up and coming, but people wanting to get into the sport that might have made their money in business or other areas. It's really a bit of a recipe or a cake that is for all, isn't it? So no matter what part of your journey you're in, if you're coming out of open wheelers like young Alex Peroni, or you're a driver just coming to it late, GT racing's where it's at.
Now, in true teammate form, I've just elbowed my buddy out of all of the interviews then. You've got to beat your teammate in this game. So let's go to your commentators. Here's Richard Craill, and fantastic to have Thomas Randall with us for this too.
Yeah, we're a lucky team to have the experience of Thomas, who comes from Sydney Motorsport Park last time out with a trophy under his belt. A little cameo with Marcel Zalur and the guy of Valmont Racing Mercedes AMG down in New South Wales, and he jagged himself a second place. Well done, but you've had miles in these cars before in the Bathurst 12 hour, among other races. So cool to see. This is shaped beautifully. Now, we don't want to be those commentators who go, oh, it's going to rain, when's the rain going to come? In case it doesn't, because we then look silly. But the radar doesn't look real pretty. Who knows how this one is going to play out?
Exactly, Richard. And yeah, when we look at the radar, it doesn't look that inviting in terms of staying dry for the whole race. But here is how the grid will line up for the opening race this weekend. So we have Brock Feeney, Brad Schumacher on pole. Brad will start the race. Then we have Mark Rosser alongside Alex Peroni, Tim Miles, and Brendan Leach, Elliott Shute, Jackson Evans, Renee Gracie, the solo entry. She did a cracking job in both of those qualifying sessions, and she did say that she hadn't done much running in the wet in these cars. Back in 2018, she said, was her last bit of wet running before this weekend. So great job from her. Then we'll have Sergio Perez, Paul Lucchini, Liam Talbot in that Aston Martin, as Rusty just spoke with Declan. They'll be wanting to try and get that thing a bit further up the front of the grid. We have Wyatt, John Konduras, Adrian Dietz, and David Wall did a cracking job in that Lamborghini in his qualifying. So as they make their way round to the start, everyone's just weaving the tyres, trying to get tyre temp, brake temp, because you're going to want to get those tyres up pretty quick around here. Turn 1 happens very fast after the start-finish line, and they're in their 2x2 formation. The BMW safety car lights are extinguished, and we are getting set for a start. Richard?
The experience of Mark Rosser on the outside alongside Brad Schumacher, who's had so much success in these cars, and that Kelso Electrical Shaw and Partners Audi is the only one to pinch a race win from the Arise Racing Ferrari so far this year. Audi in the box seat to do it again. Never count out the Mercedes AMGs in this field either. And what can Lamborghini deliver? It's round 3, GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS, a flying start from the second row of the grid. Elliott Shute squeezed, and there's contact into Rosser, and it fires Miles around as well. And for the second year in a row, we've had turn 1 dramas at Queensland Raceway. They're both going to get away with this, I think. Big drama though. Contact, the Ferrari was the meat and the Audi sandwich, and it spilled all over the floor. Schumacher leads them down towards turn 3. I think Sergio Perez has got himself up the order, and Miles's car is badly damaged. The left rear corner, lots of damage there. It's going to have to be a safety car for sure, and we do go safety car for the first time.
Yeah, that's plucked the left rear out of that thing. So that was sort of 3 into 1 there, all vying for the same position. And Elliott Shute, it looked like he got either an incredible start or, you know, whether he went just before the lights. It was hard to tell, or he just got amazing traction off the start, and he went in between Miles and Rosser there on the start. And then it was just a case of, yeah, like the meat and the sandwich, nowhere to go. And for a minute there, I thought Rosser might have headed into that outside concrete wall. So thankfully, not more damage. But Elliott Shute is still showing in 3rd position. So I don't think he's actually lost out there. But yeah, race control is definitely going to have a look at that and see whether that's a racing incident or if that could have been avoided.
Brad Schumacher leads the race. Okay, from pole, Sergio Perez up to 2nd place. The guy of Valmont Racing Mercedes AMG. Shute 3rd, Talbot up a couple of spots to 4th. Renee Gracie leads the AM class in 5th. And damage to the left rear corner on the Dale ITM Audi R8. Tim Miles out of the race.
And they were, coming into this race, they were 4th in the standings. So that's going to be a massive blow for them as well, because that's not a down the back finishing order. That's a DNF, which means 0 points. So that's really going to hurt them a lot. They didn't even get to turn 1, but thankfully everyone else managed to avoid it, as Mark Rosser in the background has now come into pit lane. So here's a replay heading down to turn 1. And it's just a case of, 3 cars all going for the 1 position. And Rosser's actually done a really good job there not to, like we said, end up in that outside wall. And Tim Miles just really an innocent passenger, because what happened was Rosser came across to the right. Then you had Chute in the middle, really nowhere to go, and then Miles on the inside. So I don't really know how you sort of put one onto the other.
Some amazing evasive driving going on. So we're behind the control of the BMW M safety car here at Queensland Raceway. Brad Schumacher leads Perez and Chute in the Pro-Am class, and Renee Gracie leads the way in Am. So yeah, wow, lots to unpick from all of that, and a shame that we don't get to see Tim Miles and we don't get to see Brendan Leach in this race, because they are worthy of the price of admission and a ticket to get into Queensland Raceway. Rusty? We'll get down to the lane in just a second. Busy down there as teams are catching up. So Team BRM has serviced the ACMF car of Mark Rosser just to check that car over for damage. There was, may as well have pitted just to double check that while they're behind the safety car. Let's go to Cam.
I've got Jackson Evans here. We saw the replay there with Elliot Chute, who was the meat in the sandwich, and looks like he might have got away with it. I saw you talking to Adam DeBore on the radio to him. Is there any reports of any damage off that start line incident?
No, it seems like, maybe some cosmetic damage, but, at least through the steering and everything, Elliot's not reporting any issues. So, yeah, obviously a tough one there. Like you said, the meat in the sandwich got squeezed, and unfortunately, we see 2 cars turned around. So, not a nice sight, but I'm glad we escaped without any issues.
And it's something we can see here at Queensland Raceway from time to time, isn't it? It really tightens and funnels in at turn 1.
Yeah, I think when you go back 12 months, there was an accident at turn 1 at the start of one of the races. So maybe it is prone to it here at Queensland Raceway, but, an unfortunate incident, and, hopefully no penalties served.
Last question I've got for you. These are quite aero-dependent cars. You said cosmetic damage, but I'd imagine there might be some aero issues that might arise when we go back to racing. Speed, is that what you're expecting?
Yeah, there's a few of the front canards, obviously, that have been knocked off, but, I feel like we're pretty comfortable where the car is, and Elliot will be able to adapt his driving and, report back to me so I can adapt when I get in the car. So hopefully not too much of a handicap, but we'll see how it goes.
All right, Jackson Evans, could have been a lot worse. You're still in the race. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cameron, thank you. And important as well as the championship leaders coming off the back of 2 race wins in Sydney. It's only the 3rd time since GT World Challenge started here in 2021 that a team has won both races in a weekend. 45 races. This is the 46th race since 2021. It's only the 3rd time it's happened that the team has won both races in a weekend. Hugely impressive performance, despite the pit stop time penalties and things for Arise Racing.
I was just about to say that, and that's why that doesn't really happen often, is because the race winner from Saturday, if you haven't gone into that race with a penalty, or even if you did get a penalty, but if you win, you then have that extra 15 seconds compensation time. So that was a cracking job from those 2 drivers, Elliot Chute, Jackson Evans, and the team at Arise Racing to get a double victory. However, this safety car doesn't help them at all, because they're all bunched up now, and I'd say the lights are still on the BMW safety car, so we're going to get at least 1 more lap here, which means that as the clock counts down and we get closer and closer to that CPS window, that number 26 Ferrari still will have to serve 15 seconds at its mandatory pit stop. So this is hurting them. And what is a real shame as well is the number 268 Audi of Rosser and Peroni. They were in the box seat. They were on the front row, Crailsy, and all they had to do was just sit in behind Schumacher, because Schumacher's got to serve 5 seconds in the pit stop, and they were in the box seat. So really unfortunate for them.
And g'day, I'm sure, watching from New Zealand, Steve Brooks, who's back competing in the opening round of the North Island Endurance Championship today at Taupo. They were second in race 2 down at Sydney, but they don't get that pit stop penalty because they're not here this weekend at Queensland Raceway. The scene at Queensland Raceway, heavy clouds over the venue. The temperatures dropped a little bit. The field behind the control of the BMW M safety car as we look set for a restart in the 5th race of a compelling GT World Challenge Australia powered by AWS season. Brad Schumacher leads the race in his Audi. Cameron?
I've got Brendan Leach just quickly before we get this one back underway, mate. 2 years in a row, race 1, bad luck for you and Tim Miles.
Yeah, unfortunate. It's just one of those things. I'm not really sure who was at fault there or what happened, but yeah, we're out of the race, and unfortunately, a really good starting position. Tim did a great job in qualifying this morning, and yeah, no fruits for our hard work.
All right, mate. Well, you better grab a seat and watch. I think it might be a little bit of rain on the way.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers.
Well, he grew up in Invercargill, so he would have loved that, Brendan Leach. You almost feel robbed when a driver of his status isn't in the race because he's so spectacular to watch. Fortunately, we've got another one tomorrow, so you'll see the Dale ITM Audi back on the racetrack for that one. We're about to go back to green flag racing, and it'll be Schumacher, Perez and Chute leading the field in the race to the mandatory pit stops in the race.
Well, that race 1 drive of Brendan here last year was very impressive because I think they had a 10-second penalty hanging over them, and he nearly got that 10-second gap at the end as, like you just touched on, the safety car lights are out, making its way back into the lane, and we will be headed the field by our pole sitter, Brad Schumacher. So entering the final corner, just waiting for some green flags before he can go down on the loud pedal. And like you said, Sergio Perez up to 2nd. So that's been a great avoidance on the opening first corner there as we're underway finally for GT World Challenge Australia powered by AWS. Everyone, I think, going to be safely through turn 1 on this occasion.
The job now is for Perez to stay with Schumacher. So you touched on the fact that there's an extra 5 seconds of pit stop time for the Kelso Electrical Audi as a result of finishing 3rd in the most recent race at Sydney Motorsport Park. No pit stop time for Sergio Perez and George King in the 55 Gaia Valmont Racing Audi. So if they can stay within 5 seconds of the leader after the pit stops, they're going to be in really, really good shape. The same story is for Liam Talbot and Declan Fraser in the Volante Rosso Aston Martin. That's the car 2nd in shot, chasing the Ferrari down into turn 4. They've got no pit stop time. They're in good shape as well.
And he started in 8th as well. So not only did Sergio Perez have a cracking start, but so did Liam Talbot. He avoided the carnage. He's up into the top 4 with, like you said, the car in front of him with that 15-second penalty as he now looks down the inside of Elliott Chute. Elliott Chute gives him plenty of space there as there's a little bit of damage on that front left splitter of the Ferrari. So I'd say that's a lingering effect, or that's lingering damage, I should say, from that turn 1 contact. And there's the shot, unfortunately, of that Dale ITM Audi, the left rear with significant damage. So I'm sure that's something they'll be able to get repaired for tomorrow. But for today, unfortunately, that is them out of action. But that, number 1, Aston Martin, that's got plenty of pace in these early stages of the race.
And word from race control, no further action on that start line incident involving the Ferrari and the 2 Audis. So racing incident being judged by Motorsport Australia Race Control.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because at the end of the day, Ross is on the outside of all of that. As he's moved over and seen the car next to him, he wouldn't know that there was another car on the inside of that. So that generally the way that it works in race control is that a penalty is dished out if someone is wholly to blame. And in this instance, no, there's not one driver that's wholly to blame. So you can't really dish out a penalty to someone. And unfortunately, as the old saying goes, Richard, that's racing. And it's just hasn't worked out, unfortunately, for Miles or for Rosser. But at least for the 268 Audi, they're still in the race. They're back into the top 10 at least. And Ross is now hunting down Donaldson.
And Alex Peroni's been super quick, the young Tasmanian in that car, every session so far. They came and tested here as well, made the trip up from Adelaide to test before the weekend. So they felt like they were in pretty good shape for Team BRM and the ACM Finance squad. They're working really hard to try and add a second car to that program at some point if they can, because that will help the program they've got going already, having 2 cars from an information point of view. So that'd be really cool to see another team expand in GT racing in this part of the world. Liam Talbot is flying. He has got genuine pace here in the Aston Martin Vantage. So Astons have won back in the day of Australian GT, but since it's become GT World Challenge and the full global set of regulations in 2021, and Aston Martin is yet to win a race in the category. I wonder if today could be the day. They are in decent shape. They're certainly going to be in the mix, and you know that when Declan Fraser gets behind the wheel, it's going to go pretty rapidly at the front of the field.
Well, the 55 Mercedes of Perez at the moment is the cork in the bottle, if you like, because he's the head of the train for Talbot, Shute and Lucchini, and Lucchini's gone along quite nicely as well, and Ojeda will take over that car once the CPS window opens. Renee Gracie leading the AM class. She's in 6th outright. But Brad Schumacher doing a great job out in front, and he's got the gap out to about 3 seconds. So if he can stretch that lead to 5 seconds or more, that's going to really help, because they do have that extra 5 seconds in the pit lane. So this battle, it looks like Talbot's made a mistake, because now Elliott Shute has gotten past Talbot. So something's obviously happened down at turn number 3, whether Perez went and defensive or not, but looks like either Liam Talbot's made an error, because Elliott Shute's just taken back that position for 3rd. So that's undone all that hard work that Liam Talbot did to gain that position, and now Shute covers into turn number 6. So he's going to say, hey, I left the door open for you once. I'm not going to do it again.
And we spoke earlier about box office potential from some of the drivers in this field. The car that's staying very much in the mix at the moment is the 66 Mercedes AMG GT3, the realtor car of Paul Lucchini, and Jaden Ojeda is behind the wheel in the second half of this race.
Oh, he's just gone long. He's just overshot and just made a mistake into turn 3, and through goes Elliott Shute. So back into the top 3, and yeah, that's going to be pretty costly, because all that work that Shute did, he was right on the heels of Sergio Perez, and unfortunately now he's got to have to pass Elliott Shute again. Cameron, what do you got for us?
Well, I'm down in the paddock at the moment. Jason Dunstan here overlooking Tim Miles's car that's coming in. It's actually not about the car coming in that I wanted to point your attention to, but if you look above the car, that's where the weather is coming from. The ambient temperature has dropped and there is starting to be some sprinkles. So Tim Miles' car coming back into the garage, but I noticed the weather is well and truly on its way.
Thanks, Cam. Glad you were the first one to bring that up.
Weatherman Cam.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's an ever-looming threat, and the pit stop window, there's 10 minutes. The AM window opens first. They get 5 minutes, and then at the halfway point of the 1 hour race, they get a 5-minute window for the Pro AM cars to make their pit stop. If it's not raining when they make their stop, they are going to want to run as long as they can, just in case. Yep. Just in case it does rain and they can throw wets on the car. You don't want to have to make a second pit stop.
The worst case scenario, Crailsy, will be if it buckets down now or in the next sort of 5 minutes, you'd have to put wets on, but that will not count as your mandatory pit stop. So it'll just be down to who can do the quickest tyre change, but we'll just have to wait and see what the weather does. In terms of the mandatory pit stop times, it's 87 seconds from pit in to pit out. So that's the time, not including any compensation time. So we will have the AM cars, they'll be pitting first when the pit lane opens. And our leader of AM is Renee Gracie from Honduras. And then we have Donaldson down, he's 9th overall, 3rd in class. And then Higgin and Halstead are our trophy class leaders and our second place positions.
Yeah, and having quite a good little battle, actually, with Gary Higgin leading the way in the KFC Audi. Heard from Paul Stokel at the start of the race, a triple Australian Drivers' Champion in Formula Holden back in the day, and Nathan Halstead. It's a Gen 1 Porsche, the earlier generation GT3R. Good combination, though, and they're having a fun little battle. Renee Gracie still leading the way in AM, as you said, with James Honduras next, as this battle resumes. So Talbot back to the back of Elliott Shute. A challenging weekend in Sydney for Valente Rosso, who prepare that green and, well, light green, lime-coloured Aston Martin. But they did some testing here before the start of the weekend and felt very confident with the way that car has built coming into the weekend. So Brad Schumacher is the race leader. He's got more than 5 seconds over Sergio Perez now. Elliott Shute is third. The AM class leader is Renee Gracian, leading the way in trophy. Gary Higgin in the Audi. So the leaders tick over another lap. They're racing towards the compulsory pit stop window. They've got an eye on the sky and an eye on their rivals around them. Right now, Schumacher has done enough to negate their extra pit stop penalty they're carrying from the opening round of, from the most recent race, I should say, at Sydney Motorsport Park last time out. Perez now, though, with some good pace in the Guy Valmont racing car, trying to pull that margin back as the Audi Customer Sport Racing team watch on from the bunker in pit lane here at Queensland Raceway.
Well, at the moment, this is working out beautifully for the 888 Audi of Brad Schumacher. We're 11 laps into the race, albeit 4 or 5 of them were under safety car. And he's got that gap out to 6 seconds as Mark Rosser is back in the lane. So I wouldn't say that they'd be putting wets on it yet. It's not actually raining, so whether they've got another form of issue maybe with that car. They were running in about 10th position. He just got past Adrian Dietz, and so there's clearly some issue there with the 268 Audi as this battle still going on between Perez, Shute and Talbot. As we know, Talbot lost that position to Shute after that small mistake down at turn 3 running wide. Managed to still keep it on the track. He's still applying a lot of pressure to that Arise Ferrari, and if he can get through on Elliott Shute, his next task will be trying to get past Perez, because if they want to win this race, he's going to have to do the hard yards out on the track.
Serge is doing an awesome job. What an opening lap, and did a brilliant job negating all of the drama in front of him, getting around it, ducking and weaving in the Guy Valmont Racing Mercedes. He's spent a lot of time in Audi material in GT racing, has Sergio. Originally came out of one-make Porsches with his good buddy Marcel Zalua, who you raced with, and it was quite cool to see the 2 Valmont cars running nose to tail at Sydney Motorsport Park for a little while there, which was good fun. It looks like it might be day done for BRM and the ACMF Audi with Mark Rosser in the lane. I saw Shane Wilmot, who's the crew chief down there, looking around that car. So there's clearly some additional damage that perhaps wasn't apparent from the outset that's caused that car to be retired from the race. What a shame.
Yeah, that is a shame for them. And again, lots of vital points gone missing. However, the silver lining, if you like, is that they will be starting on the front row again tomorrow. Yeah. So thankfully they have that second qualifying, or the first qualifying of the day. That sets the grid for race 2. And you know what's interesting, I was going to say, between Talbot and Shute, is that as he goes for the move now on Shute, it was turn 6 last time and it's turn 3 this time. So on lap number 14, Liam Talbot gets the move done finally on Elliott Shute. Hopefully he can make it stick now on his old team, Arise Racing. And now it's about trying to get up to the back of and hopefully past Sergio Perez for second. Get that gap down to under 5 seconds on Brad Schumacher.
It just keeps them in the game for the back half of the race when Declan Fraser takes over car number 1. Reigning champion in GT World Challenge, and last year was teammate with Elliott Shute. Was in the sister car, Talbot driving with Chaz Mostert. Had a remarkable season. Switch of teams, a change of environment was the order of the day in the off-season, and a quite last-minute deal to put that program together with Valente Rosso and to get the Aston Martin on track and racing this year in partnership with Declan Fraser and that team. So they're in a good position. The race still very much wide open. Seven seconds is the margin for the race lead. GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS here at Queensland Raceway. The GT Festival, thanks to EVENTelec this weekend. Schumacher leads by 7 seconds in the Audi R8. Sergio Perez is second in the Guy Valmont Racing Mercedes AMG GT3. Liam Talbot is third in the Valente Rosso Motorsport Aston Martin Vantage GT3. And then it's Elliott Shute next in the Ferrari. So 4 different teams and brands in the top 4 positions, as always, in this incredibly diverse and highly competitive GT World Challenge field. We're We're racing our way towards the pit stop. Thomas Randall can't turn the weather wrap off. We're looking forward to seeing how this all plays out as we watch Gary Higgin in the trophy class, previous gen or earlier specification Audi R8. Running around in 11th position outright, leading the class over Nathan Holstead there in the Porsche, who's second in the trophy class. Let's go back to the lane where Cameron Vanden Dungen is in the thick of the action.
Normally I'd be giving you the update about what's happened with the car. Unfortunately, in this case, Mark Rosser out of the car. We saw the telltale damage on the front right, but what has put you out of this race?
Yeah, the bottom control arm's cracked and broken, so we've got a bit of damage, and the steering wheel was pretty sideways going down the straights, and yeah, let go and got a lot worse, so it wasn't safe to drive anymore, so had to retire, unfortunately.
So where did the incident happen? Was it the first lap incident, or was there more?
Yeah, the first lap incident, I got a really bad start, so the guys behind kind of jumped up a bit, and it was probably pretty congested there, and got a little tap in the rear corner, which spun me around, and I think Tim Miles hit me pretty hard. So yeah, pretty big damage to both of our cars, I think.
Oh, well, shame for how this finished, but you got tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll come back tomorrow, hopefully strong. Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cam. And that's the joy of the way these weekends work out. That was really close with Talbot sweeping across the front of Halstead's Porsche at turn 1. The pit stop window open for Amber Trophy car, so he'll be in the lane shortly anyway. That's the joy of the way these weekends work out, Thomas, is that you get another go tomorrow, and that car, as you said earlier, will start on the front row of the grid thanks to Alex Peroni's qualifying job. Well, yeah. Thanks to Mark Ross's qualifying job, isn't it?
Well, both, yeah. They both did a cracking job, and we know that car's got plenty of pace. It's just, it's unfortunately a case of not capitalising on that pace, and it was a very similar story for that team at Phillip Island. They had heaps of speed, but it was a few pit stop infringements that caught them out there, and then they had the jump start in the second race with Alex Peroni. So those sort of penalties, you know, they're so costly. But unfortunately for today, it was that incident before they even got to turn 1 that's put them out of the race, and, you know, heaps of points that just go astray, if you like. So unfortunately for them, no points today, but like we touched on, tomorrow they'll be back at it from the front row and no compensation times. That's the silver lining there. So if they can just get through that first opening couple of laps, I think they'll be okay. And they were our Saturday race winner here last year, so we know they can get the job done. It's just motor racing's a tough game, isn't it, Crailsy? You know, there's so many things that have got to go right in motorsport, so many things that can go wrong. And a time when things can go wrong is during the pit stop. As you said, we've got our pit window open for Amber Trophy, and we've pretty much got them all in the lane. Gracie, Konduras, Donaldson, Halstead, and I think Higgin pitted the lap before. So as Talbot just has a massive tank slapper off the exit of turn 3. So if someone says he's not pushing, well, they're not watching this race, because he is trying to get as much as he can out of those Pirelli rear tyres. But you know what? Perez has been doing a cracking job so far.
Yeah, and he's keeping Talbot, the reigning champion, a couple of times over, pegged in this category. So doing a very nice job. 1 second the margin. Schumacher out in front sets another quickest lap of the race. The margin out to about 8.5 seconds now over Perez. They're racing towards their pit stop. Adrian Dietz up to 7th place in the Lamborghini, so he's found some time. Stephen White in 6th place in the Ferrari. Will hand over to Aaron Love. And Paul Lucchitti's hanging on to the back of these guys. He's dropped about 6 seconds to the Arise Racing Ferrari, but the Realtor Merc will have Jaden Ojeda in it in the back half of this race.
Yeah, and he knows a thing or two about steering these Mercedes-AMG GT3 cars. So, yeah, plenty of experience in Mercedes. And this weekend there were a few other events on around the world, but you know what? He's committed to the program with Paul Lucchitti and Tagani Motorsport. He's been in that fold for a while now. Very much settled in with the team based out of Wollongong, run by Nathan Tagani and the crew there. And they've got one of their cars currently in 2nd place with Sergio Perez, and that'll be taken over by George King once they head into the lane, which generally speaking, Crailsy, in the opening races of the weekend, these guys, they pit as soon as the pit window opens. And then we'll see tomorrow when the pro drivers are out there, they'll try and stretch it as long as possible before they put their bronze drivers in the cars.
And at a short lap, so they're currently doing 68.5 second laps at the moment, so a minute 8.6, the quickest lap of the race. a short lap like that, that could be 4 bonus laps you get in your pit stop window before you peel that car into pit lane, if you can time it right. At least 3. And at pro pace, that could be the difference between an overcut or an undercut against the guys you're racing. It all plays out in the teams. It's a tight window to work to, but there are ways you can play that game and use a little bit of strategy to try and get yourself some track position.
And the other thing is, because no one's ran on brand new slick tyres this weekend, will we see some different strategies when they come into the pit? Will people do left side tyres? Will anyone do all 4 tyres? Because it's kind of like greens galore at the moment, because everyone has been running wet tyres up to this point. So keep an eye on that, see whether or not they just keep the hot tyres on there, or whether Schumacher, Perez, Talbot, they might be complaining that the left sides are starting to go. It's generally the left front that does the brute, or the brute work around here, and that left rear gets a bit of a copping as well.
Change of the lead in the AM class. Theo Konduris has assumed point there after the pit stops. So the Pro-Am window open right now, by the way, so those leading cars can peel into the lane, and the first of them to do it will be Steve Wyatt in the 77 Arise Ferrari to hand over to Aaron Love. So they're the first into pit lane. Time that to perfection, that team. Right place, right time. This is the battle for the AM class lead. So Renee Gracie had 15 seconds extra mandatory pit stop time as a result of winning the last time out at Sydney Motorsport Park. So she was stationary for longer. It's 15 seconds plus the pit stop time, which here is 87 seconds, and that is from the control line in to the control line out. It includes the time you're stationary in the pit bay.
And with this lap being only 1 minute and 8 seconds, you can go a lap down essentially when you do that pit stop, because 87 seconds is 1 minute and 27 seconds, not including compensation time. As we see our leader of the race, top 2 are in the lane. Talbot has elected to stay out, and he will assume the race lead as Renee Gracie trying to go down the inside now of Konduris. Can't quite get it done. Konduris hanging tough around the outside there. This is a great battle for the AM class.
Theo was really deep. The Canberra and under brakes into turn 3 went a long way. Gracie got a great run out of turn 2, but the Merc better under brakes at 3 that time by and holds on to the lead. So this is for the AM class win. Arise, both cars in the lane, so there's a lap apart there. And have they overshot their marks?
Not only that, but it looked like one of the crew was going to bring a tyre into the lane before they were in their box. Sometimes you have to do what's called as a pushback, because it is so tight in the lane, and not until you do that pushback can you actually do work on the car. But it looked like they were getting ready to do some tyres on that thing, left-hand side tyres. So we'll see what happens here as they do the driver change. We've got some of the crew got a gun on the left front there. It looks like they've abandoned, well, there's a Motorsport Australia official there as well, so I'm not really sure what's going on with this pit stop at the moment. Yeah, they looked like they were going to do tyres on the left side. They've abandoned that, but yeah, Renee Gracie now has actually lost out, I think, as well to Curry. So she's gone from leading back to 3rd in class.
Yeah, so this is going to be a battle all the way to the flag. We'll bring you up to speed on where the Pro-Am stuff lends out. So Schumacher, well, it'll be Brock Feeney now out of the lane. Liam Talbot yet to stop, is going longer in this one, and there's a battle. So the Ferrari squeaks out. Jackson Evans in front of Jaden Ojeda. That's Paul Stokel flying through to unlap himself. So the rejoin was properly close. Oh, that was very, very tight down at the Arise camp, right at pit exit, where understanding they've changed a left rear tyre on car 888. So that's Brock Feeney's car.
And a front left on the 26 Ferrari of Jackson Evans.
Okay, so the steer tyre at the front. That's interesting. Now, left-hand side does all the work at Queensland Raceway, remember, because there's 4 right-hand corners and only 2 of the left. And into the lane comes the leader, who's now a full lap in front, essentially, of Brock Feeney. Just getting reports that there could be a pit stop procedure breach for car 47, Superbarn Supermarkets Merc, Theo Konduris behind the wheel, and class leader. But let's follow this stop. Race leader in the lane.
Now we can see on the track George King going past, but remember, he's got to get that lap back, so they still have to go a full lap around, because they do lose about a lap under these pit stops being an 87-second pit stop. So I think Feeney ideally should still be in the race lead. It's going to be close, I'd say, between Talbot and George King, or shall I say Declan Fraser, once he assumes the driving duties behind that number 1 Aston Martin.
So Feeney's jumped King. So that's been a positional change there. So King and Feeney looking good. So Brock, yeah, no, you're right. He hasn't done that. My mistake. So King was in behind, wasn't he, already? So it's Feeney on the rejoin that we're watching with Liam Talbot. Have they been able to eke out a little bit more time? Remember, they had a shorter pit stop in car number 1, so 5 seconds to the better, but the margin was 8. And there goes Declan Fraser out of the lane at 40 k's an hour. Here comes Brock Feeney at a greater rate of knots on the exit of the final corner.
It's going to be
this
close.
is for the race lead, and it's going to be the Audi because Fraser now hits the de-restriction number. They've got a little bit of time back.
Well, they've jumped at the moment. I think they've jumped Perez here. They have. So they have gained here. They've jumped Sergio Perez and George King. So that's worked out really well for them. I mean, it was always going to be tough to beat Brock Feeney because that car had an 8-second lead. I still think they've actually gained on Brock Feeney.
Yeah, they've definitely gained. It was 8 seconds before the stop. They had 5 up their sleeve before it. Cam?
Yeah, you talked about the replay before where you saw Jackson Evans coming out of pit lane being very tight. What you didn't see was earlier, he got boxed out on his entry and they lost 6 or 7 seconds in their pit stop time as a result of not being able to get into their pit stop, and that was because of the other team, the other car in the team. So there was a very thick layer of rubber put down as he exited, but 6 or 7 second delay for Jackson Evans on that last pit stop.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. That explains though the energy down there at Arise Racing when they were trying to sort that car out, the 26 car, when it pulled into pit lane. And that has been costly. They're 14 seconds off the race lead now. As Gracie gets down the inside of Darren Curry, that is for position and for AM class, 2nd and 3rd. And now we'll go out and chase after the class leader, Theo Konduras. He's that black Mercedes AMG a little bit up the road. So it's all washed out. There's 21.5 minutes to go in this one. Brock Feeney leads by just under 4 seconds from Declan Fraser and the Brit George King in the Pro-Am class. Theo Konduras leads Renee Gracie in AM, and Paul Stokel leads the way in Trophy. Jackson Evans going quickly. Jaden Ojeda going even quicker again with a 108.24 last time round.
And we've just had reports of some raindrops in pit lane. So it's getting darker and darker outside at the moment.
Well, I've got a conveniently placed puddle outside the window of our commentary box that I've been watching closely, closer than you've been watching the weather radar. And there is 1 or 2 little ripples coming out of that as the drops come down. So 21 minutes to go. Cast your mind back to the second race of the championship at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Opening round of the season, there was a 888 Audi leading the way, and then it started raining, and it was pretty hairy at the end with a whole bunch of cars on slicks.
It's almost like someone might have called that earlier. You know what I found interesting here, Crailsy, is I actually thought Ojeda would have jumped Evans in the pit stop. The gap was closer than 15 seconds between those two, so I don't know whether the 66 maybe didn't have a great pit stop, but yeah, I thought they might have come out in front of Jackson Evans. So Evans now has put down a blisteringly fast first sector in that Arise Racing Ferrari. He's about 3.8 seconds back from George King in 3rd. And Feeney now opening the gap up to Declan Fraser. The gap was about 2.5 seconds when Declan left the pits and rejoined. It's now out to nearly 5 seconds. So Feeney setting more and more green sectors, as it's been noted by the stewards about car 26, a pit lane procedure. And that is the car that we were watching. And we saw there was a Motorsport Australia official down there. We thought that they were going to do maybe both left tyres, and they aborted, and it was all a bit going on there. So
drive-through penalty. Arise Racing Ferrari championship leader. Throw away 30 plus seconds. It's going to tumble them to the bottom end of the top 10. And on that, Theo Konduras copped a drive-through as well already. And going slowly is the guy of Valmont Racing Car. George King is limping. He's already been passed by Jackson Evans, and now Jaden Ojeda is going to sail past in the Realtor car.
What's happened there? Has he got a puncture or something, or not quite sure? But he was in 3rd, and trying to just see on the car. Can't see anything too obvious. No, it doesn't look like any tyres are down, but certainly going slowly. He lost over 2 seconds in the first sector, and he's still losing more time. So some sort of issue for the 55 Mercedes.
Ojeda absolutely flying now. 107.83 last time round. He'll go quicker again. They're not far off the lap record either, set last year at a 107.4. King limping. It goes to the lane. No, stays out. Gets passed by Luke Youlden in the Porsche. That's a good mix. Luke is the chief driving instructor for the Porsche track experience, and the drive-through is being served by Jackson Evans for a pit lane breach.
Maybe that could have been that crew over the line, maybe, with the car. You need to have the engine off before any crew can go over the line. So, look, unfortunately, we can't hear pit lane from here, so whether or not that was the problem, but the officials are hard when on pit stop infringements, because at the end of the day, it's a safety thing in the lane to make sure that you follow the pit stop procedure perfectly and nail everything, and unfortunately, it's bitten them today.
.5 seconds, the leading margin Brock Feeney has over Declan Fraser. Behind them in third place now is Jaden Ojeda, and he is going rapidly. He set the quickest lap of the race in the last 2 tours. George King is fourth, but struggling for Gaia Valmont Racing in Tagani in the number 55 car. Jackson Evans has just served a drive-through penalty for a pit lane breach. It's dropped the championship leading car to 5th place. Renee Gracie's back in front in the AM class at 6th outright, but fending off Darren Curry in a battle for the lead there. And Paul Stokel now leads the way in the trophy class in 11th and 12th position. Rusty?
Rich, I've just dropped by Arise Racing for you. I think you two have been sort of question marking what may have actually happened in relation to that pit stop infringement for the Ferrari. Talked with Adam DeBore, and he said to me that the car just slightly overshot the box when it first came in. They had to push it back into the box, and then therefore they weren't stationary, or they weren't. The stop itself wasn't long enough. It didn't comply, so they've fallen just short of their mandatory pit stop time by the sounds of it.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. Good update. So what they mean is the stationary time doesn't start until now. So it didn't count right up until that point. So they would have been under when they left the pit lane, even though it's time from in to out. It's that extra penalty time that can often hurt. You sort of have to readdress where they're at in terms of their pit stop timing. So 87 seconds plus the 15. That's been very costly for them. And while that's been going on, it's popped up on our timing screen that it's being investigated for Declan Fraser and Liam Talbot, car number 1. The Aston Martin that sits in 2nd place noted pit stop procedures, so they're investigating the pit stop for that car as well. 1%ers, we say it every round, don't we? It's the little 1%ers that can make or break these races. There's so many things you need to be on top on. You get one of them even slightly wrong, and it can absolutely end your day.
Yeah, you need so much to go right. This is what we were speaking about not too long ago, and we saw at Phillip Island, the opening round of the championship, a lot of pit stop procedures and pit stop infringements. And you kind of think now, you know, we're 3 rounds into the year, that all those sorts of bugs will be ironed out, you know, blow the cobwebs off, but still, unfortunately, catching these guys out. And the amount of practice that these teams and these crews and drivers do to, you know, eradicate any sort of error, and just confirming that there's a high chance that there could be a drive-through for car 1, because it's just been confirmed, a drive-through penalty for car number 1, and that is due to pit stop time. So underneath their pit stop time, that was, 26 and car 1. So like I said, you know, we're 3 rounds in, and these sorts of things, they have what's called a race logic in the cars, and that's based off GPS positions from the pit entry to the pit exit. And they're set, they should be set to, if you don't have a pit stop compensation time, it'll be set to 87 seconds. And as you stop, when you stop in your box, Crailsy, for a driver, you'll see the race logic. It'll give you a countdown onto when you need to leave your box to resume trundling down pit lane, and then it'll give you a live delta as such if you're down, if you're over or under predicted when you get to that pit exit line. And, you know, it's obviously cost this team and 26 out, and unfortunately for them, we've just had word car 1 was actually working on the car with the engine running. But for 26, yeah, that's been costly in terms of the pit stop time.
But again, it's another one of those little 1%er rules. It's like when we rock up at Bathurst for the 12-hour every year, and it's the weaving behind the safety car that the Euros don't get, that you have to stop that when the lights go down. It's the little stuff, the little tweaks that can make or break your day. The beneficiaries out of this will be Jaden Ojeda and Paul Lucitti, who will find themselves in second position, in a really good position to score a haul of championship points. They were second in race 1 of the season at Phillip Island, third in race 1 of the season, race 3 of the season, I should say, the first race at Sydney Motorsport Park last time out. So they've had a couple of decent podiums already this year, looking for their third podium finish of the season.
Ojeda has just been absolutely flying. He was about 8 seconds behind Fraser, and he's got the gap down to under 2 seconds. And we know that car, they're going to have to serve their drive-through probably on this lap, because you only get a couple of laps to serve it. Whether or not that team is trying to argue the case, you know, to argue drive-throughs, it's pretty tough. Generally, you have to serve them within 3 laps. And another car that's going very fast is Jackson Evans, but still a question mark on that 55 Mercedes, because he's dropped back 18 seconds to Ojeda in the space of 3 or 4 laps. So really curious to see what has gone on with that 55 Mercedes, whether there's a car issue, a power issue, not really sure, but clearly it's not enough of an issue to bring them into pit lane. They feel like circulating is still the best option, but
they're still not fast, Thomas. They're doing 110s, and the cars around them are in the mid to low 7s at the moment. Jackson Evans last time around, quickest lap of the race, the 7.4, which is almost bang on lap record pace at this place for GT3 cars.
Yeah, well, on the timing, it's showing there's about 9 cars that are under the lap record. So I'm not quite sure that's the case, as Declan Fraser is in the lane serving his drive-through penalties. So that's a big shame for them, because they started in 8th. Plenty of work got them up into 2nd position. And I think there was going to be a pretty, shall we say, decent battle between himself and Ojeda in the not-too-distant future. But that's just taken the heat off Ojeda. He's going to have clear air, and, well, can he find 12 seconds in 11 minutes? That might be a bit of a challenge.
I mean, if anyone can, it's probably
correct.
The Juice quickest lap last year in GT3 cars was a 107.39, set by, predictably, Jaden Ojeda, and I believe that is the lap record at this venue. The one showing in the system is a couple of years old. So, Brock Feeney, who's just set that car's personal best lap of the race, and 107.8, leads it by 12 seconds. Let's go to the lane. Here's Greg Rust.
Krause, I've just wandered into Valencia Rosso, and they were buoyed by the way things were going, but that's a bit of a gut-wrenching blow, isn't it?
Sums up our year, unfortunately.
How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the rules have changed this year, and we didn't adapt, and not the only ones getting caught out. It's a little frustrating that year on year the things keep changing, and it's a bit hard to keep track of it, but it is what it is.
Thanks for talking to us.
Cheers.
And just to add to that, stories that we've been following, word is that 55 car has no power steering.
Now that is a serious arm day. Don't need to be going to the gym. He's gonna need a nice cold beer after this one, because driving one of these cars without power steering, they create a lot of downforce. The speeds they carry through not only that first sector, but even some like turn 5. He's got another 10 minutes of pain. But at the moment, he's still sitting in 3rd position. I think Jackson Evans will be approaching him fairly soon, because you can only do so much when you literally have no power steering. So they'll get that rectified for tomorrow. But if he can keep circulating and score even a top 4 position, top 5, it's still great points.
Well, he's got Jackson Evans bearing down on him rapidly, 4.2 seconds. But Jackson at the moment is going a second and a half a lap quicker, if not more. We'll give you a lap time check when they come by. So there's likely to be a change of position for the final step on the podium, but then you're right, how far down do they tumble? Tell you what, good recovery drive in this race. Car 77, Rise Racing Ferrari. Aaron Love behind the wheel has dragged that car up to 6th position, so tail end of that leading group. Renee Gracie's still leading AM class. Only 7/10 between herself and Darren Curry, so that's a good fight between the two of those. Theo Kanduris a long way back at that drive-through penalty for a pit lane infringement. But Darren driving well in the 111 Racing Mercedes AMG GT3. Missed the last round at Sydney Motorsport Park and had an absolute shocker at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Failed to start either race on Saturday or Sunday after some damage to that car. So this is a good bounce back for them in a really competitive battle for the AM class. And this has been as close as Renee's been run all season in terms of that AM class leading fight. So the Audi still under pressure, less than a second between them in that battle for the leading class.
Yeah, that's a good battle with about 8 minutes to go. So I don't think that position or the lead of that is all wrapped up just yet. So Curry still finding plenty of pace in that Mercedes-Benz, setting his fastest first sector of the race. And so is David Wall, as this is for position. George King suffering.
Oh, man.
Poor guy.
So he's sucking in the big ones now. Deep breaths, try and go, right, I've got to haul this 1,350 kilo Mercedes AMG with big, wide, sticky Pirelli tyres and all that weight over the front axle into a corner with downforce and everything around it, all the camber and caster they run on the front end of these cars. And Jackson Evans sails through and gets to 3rd position. So a decent recovery for our championship leaders. Rusty?
How do you decompress? How do you de-stress while the race is going on? Well, you come and watch a bit of motor racing, Brad, don't you?
Absolutely, mate. Come out and be a spectator after jumping out for that stint.
So give us a report card on your stint. And as you and I sit and talk here, there are these sort of, these little sprinkles of water which are a bit nerve-wracking, aren't they?
Mate, while I was out there, every lap I'd come down the back straight towards turn 3. I could see these huge clouds building up over the horizon. I thought, how long is it going to be till the rain comes, you know? No, had good pace out there today. Was able to put 9 seconds onto 2nd place, which is what we needed because we had the 5-second penalty since Sydney Motorsport Park. Success penalty, of course. Brock's out there doing an amazing job at the moment. It's just a matter of counting down the laps down to the end of the race and hopefully we can come away with the win, which we really need.
Well, give him away from the wall, enjoy.
See you, mate.
He's a good character, Brad, and just loves his motorsport. He'll drive anything he possibly can get his hands on, but he drives them well. 3 career victories in GT World Challenge. 3 pole positions, I should say, to his credit. 4 career wins. This could be number 5 as this AM class fight continues to build. And Darren Curry is not letting the OnlyFans Audi go in the lead for the class. Good fight.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. And she did an excellent job in qualifying as well in those conditions. She was, I think, 4th in the 2nd qualifying, and she actually out-qualified a few of the pros in the opening qualifying session. So that was pretty impressive from her. And she's got eyes forward at the moment, and that's all she needs to do with about 5.5 minutes remaining, and that'd be a sweet victory for her. And as it would be for Brad Schumacher and Brock Feeney, that's just going to help their championship as well because they're in 2nd position and these will be vital points for them if they can hang on here. And Jackson Evans, you'd say, is pretty safe for 3rd position, 31 seconds behind Ojeda there. So I'd say, as it stands, the top 3 probably be as it stands. Rusty?
You know the benefit of driver coaches for some of our AM competitors. Look who we've spotted on the pit wall here. None other than Stephen Johnson, working with the Kanduris brothers for He's on the radio, so I better not dive in here while he's busy working away. G'day, mate. Welcome. And it's just give us a sense of what you're up to here and how you provide that help.
Yeah, it's just looking at the data, obviously looking at the times. The Kondurases are not professional racers, so you got to remind them little mistakes that they're making that's costing him a lot of time. So he's just out of rhythm a bit after our pit lane penalty, which was not ideal, but he's back in. We got the speed to be up the front. We just need the consistency now, so he's doing a good job.
You know this place well. Do you reckon we'll escape a bit of rain for the rest of the afternoon?
As long as it's raining everywhere else but here, we'll be fine.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks.
I bumped into Stevie J in the paddock earlier. It's great to see him up and about. If your health challenges in recent memory, I don't think he'll mind me saying, but he's been back in the Touring Car Masters car and has been winning in that too recently in the big Ford Mustang. So cool to see a Johnson on the Dick Johnson front straight here at Queensland Raceway. He's a ripper bloke, Stevie J. And he said that the Honduras boys, they're really intense. They're really fired up about their racing and achieving success. And they'll be frustrated by that pit lane penalty. So nice, cool voice of reason in your ears will be a good thing to have.
Absolutely. Speaking of pit lane penalties, it's just popped up on our timing that for car 71, which is the Wilden Porsche, they've been noted for a pit stop procedure. So we'll see what that will be for. It's the last thing you'd want when there's 3 minutes to go in the race and that pops up. You'd be thinking, you know, I thought we were all in the clear here, so that's a bit of a shame for them. But just looking at Declan Fraser now and Aaron Love in behind him. And Aaron Love's made a bit of ground on Declan, so that gap's down to half a second. So I don't think this battle for fourth is done. They've both made their way past the struggling George King. And I was going to make a point, actually, Crailsey, of not only how tough it is without power steering, but you struggle to push the car because if you have a moment and you have to counter steer or correct it, that's what's even harder to do when you have no power steering. So that's where you've got to think, you know what, I'm just going to pull it back a bit and make sure that I try and minimize any oversteer moments, because that's even harder to control when you've got zero power steering.
Straight into the ice bath after this one, you'd think, for
well, that's going to rain, isn't it?
Well, it's still quite warm, though. I don't think that'll help his recovery. George King will... it'll be an interesting night for him as he recovers to get set for another hour of racing, because you're always turning, you're always working here at Queensland Raceway. So this is a battle for fourth and fifth place. Yep. So cool to see Aaron Love back in the paddock. Bumped into him quickly this morning. Young guy, a tough little phase in his career in the supercar paddock. It's a piranha club there sometimes. It can be really, really difficult, but he just needed to get back into something, enjoy his motorsport again. He's so fast, so capable, and he's proved that this weekend being in this Ferrari. Filling in for Big Bro, Jordan Love, who's away racing in GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS, in, I think they're Buriram this weekend, up in Thailand. So
it's in the Corvette.
Yeah, for the Johor Motor Racing team with Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, who's a former race and event winner here in GT World Challenge Australia. And Jeffrey, if you're watching, we'd certainly love to see JMR back in Australian soil at some point with some Corvettes in GT World Challenge Australia. So Aaron Love puts the pressure on. Meanwhile, Brock Feeney, with a minute to go on the clock, has 10.6 seconds. Looking for the second win of the season, and crucially, this was the one they needed. With the championship lead blowing out after 3 wins from 4 races for Arise Racing, this is the perfect return of serve from the Kelso Electrical Audi team.
Yeah, if it stays like this, they'll get about 13 points off 12 points on the number 26 Ferrari of Jackson Evans and Elliott Shute. At the moment, that car, the 26 car, has the fastest lap of the race. So that will get them a bonus point, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. But at the moment, it'd be 26 points for the race win.
You get one for pole.
Oh, one for pole,
yeah,
sorry.
Yep, 25 for a win. So
that all works helps. For Feeney.
Correct, absolutely. And for Brad Schumacher, who's looking to become the first driver to win Trophy, to win AM, and then win Pro-Am. Never been done. He's got 2 class wins. He wants to win this whole shindig outright. And he's got the best co-driver and the best team in the business to do it. Audi for their 30th victory in GT World Challenge Australia competition since 2001. No other brand has double figures. So they have been crushingly dominant. That era where Yasser Shahin and Garth Tander were driving together, they were crushing for so long. Liam Talbot had a lot of success in the Audis as well. And this has been a huge performance. Brock Feeney will start the final lap of the race with a big margin over Jaden Ojeda and Paul Lucidi, who are going to end up with another podium finish, with a 3rd of their season. So another big haul of championship points for them. And what a good recovery from Jackson Evans. A drive-through penalty they are going to score some championship points regardless, minimise the damage. If you have dramas, it's all about points limitation, isn't it? Loss limitation in these races.
And this is going to be back-to-back wins for this car and for Brad Schumacher, and paired with the current Supercars championship leader, because he won with Will Brown last year, who was leading the championship in Supercars.
Nice work.
And now he'll be winning it with Brock Feeney, who is the current Supercars championship leader as well. So,
wow,
a couple of little fun facts there.
You're saying there's an omen. Does that mean Feeney goes on to win the Supercars? Who knows? But they're going to win this race. What a performance. Tactical, fast, clean, mistake-free. Got away with it at the start after that big moment. And a win for Audi. They're back on top after a Ferrari streak. Brock Feeney and Brad Schumacher win race 1 at Queensland Raceway. Big margin back. Here's the Realtor Mercedes AMG. Jaden Ojeda and Paula Chitty-Home in second place.
Great drive from Jaden.
Really, as always, as we've come to expect for a Mercedes AMG junior driver. And then we wait for the Ferrari for a rise racing for Jackson Evans and Elliott Shute. Survived a drive-through, and the championship leaders will minimise their points lost today with a podium finish.
Just in the background, looked like the battle was on between Declan Fraser and Aaron Love. That is still not done. 0.2 of a second between Fraser and Love. So let's see who comes out on top out of that battle, as we'll be seeing them coming around the final corner very shortly. Can Fraser hang on? He has managed to. So that'll be 4th place for them. Unfortunately, they also had to serve a drive-through penalty. So that's 4th for Talbot and Fraser. They move up from starting in 8th. And then Renee Gracie, I think she's just going to hang on to it.
So they're going down into turn 4.
Must have crossed the line already.
Yeah, I think she has. She was a lap back. Yep. So she's already got that victory in the AM class. So well done, Renee. Another win for her championship. It's been a very impressive start to her season. Big haul of championship points early on in the year. Makes it easier in the back half when you get to the end. And the trophy class goes to Paul Stokel and Gary Higgin in the Audi R8. Well done to the KFC duo. Great to have Paul back in the championship too. Super, super fast, accomplished race car driver. And Audi, a very impressive day indeed. They sweep the 3 classes, the 4 rings. So she's been a big day for Team MPC. Brock Feeney and Schumacher on top. Fastest lap of the race went to Jackson Evans, driving angry after the drive-through penalty. So Arise Racing 3rd and 5th, and Declan Fraser home in 4th place. Big moment at the start. A slow start for Mark Rosser. Contact as Elliott Shute tried to go through the middle, and it would be contact that would ultimately end the day for both of those Audis.
Yeah, racing incident there. Not much you could really do. 3 cars all vying for that same position. And that put 2 of the Audis out, unfortunately. And the 268 Audi will start on the front row tomorrow. So a bit of a silver lining. This was that nice, well, this was the second overtake that Talbot did on Shute, because he actually made his way past at turn 6, but then went wide at turn 3 and had to relinquish 3rd. Finally got it back, and then this was that awkward pit stop for the 26 machine. They ultimately got a drive-through penalty for being under the pit stop time, because they had to push back, and the pit stop time doesn't start until you are finally in position. This battle between Renee Gracie and what was...
That was Darren Curry.
Darren Curry.
The pass for the lead in the AM class. And then a drive-through penalty for car number 1 for another pit stop breach for Volante Rosso. So the stewards cracked down on that pretty hard in that race. Those little 1%ers can make or break your day in GT World Challenge. No making or breaking in terms of rule breaches for our winners. What a performance. Brock Feeney crossed the line just over 10 seconds in front of the field. And Rusty, he and Brad Schumacher are winners for the 2nd time this year.
He is literally just putting the winner's cap on. Spoke to his teammate who was pretty nervous on the wall. That's a nice way to start the weekend. And you talked in qualifying this morning about this being kind of the final one for now for you guys too.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. I mean, Brad just killed it out there. We obviously had the 5-second carryover penalty from Sydney, so yeah, he just drove away from the field and made it super easy for me. I was just out front sort of cruising around. So, chuffed to get a win. It's been a bit of a tough season. Like, I probably haven't had the pace that I wanted to, but to get a pole or 2 poles and a win today has been awesome.
Brad, come on in. I mean, it's home turf for this bloke, but to do it here, what's that mean?
It's always amazing to get a good result at QR. It looks like a simple circuit, but it really isn't. To get the most out of the car here, you really got to know what you're doing. And obviously the conditions haven't been ideal this weekend, but we've been really strong every session. The guys at MPC have done a great job, giving us a good platform. And honestly, I did some training at Norwell with Brock earlier in the week, and I actually contribute a lot of the success that I've had this weekend to that. It taught me a lot there, and yeah, would highly recommend it.
Well done, and you're in great shape to potentially repeat that tomorrow. So congratulations today.
Thanks, Rusty. Cheers.
Good on you. Okay, there are our outright winners. We come around to Renee Gracie here now, who's just in kind of in debrief mode. Well done. Quali was epic, and you've executed perfectly in the race too.
Yeah, I was just having a giggle about how I spun by myself after the before the restart, before the safety car. I missed all those cars, and I sliced through everybody, and then I thought I better keep everything warm, and then I've still spun out on my own. I can't believe it. So all my hard work avoiding that crash got undone, but not really, because I got a good result for class. But yeah, might have been a few more up the road upright if I didn't have a spin on my own.
Give us a little sense. I mean, I think you and I have spoken on a couple of occasions now about progression, about taking those steps. Do you feel like maybe even here at Queensland Raceway there's been a gain of some sort?
Definitely. I'm more confident, and I worry about less. In the car. I feel more confident. I don't have to worry about too much. I just focus on myself. 12 months ago, having a few spots of rain on the windscreen would have spooked me because I was nervous it was going to rain. But now I just press on and head down and get over it. So there's a lot less things that I have to worry about because I'm used to the car. So I think that's aiding in my progression to just focus on driving and being as fast as I can.
Great stuff. Park the worries. Enjoy the celebration.
Thank you.
There you go, Renee Gracie. Let's wander back to the KFC Audi from a trophy class perspective. Really good outing for these guys. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. That's awesome.
Tell us about the way the race itself unfolded and how you boys feel.
Well, Gary got off to a good start. He stayed out of trouble at the beginning. I'm not sure that was intentional, but yeah, stayed out of all the carnage and managed to get past our competition, I guess, for the race and held it. Gave it to the pit stop in the lead of the category. And from there on, I just put my head down. The car was mint when we first went out of the pits. So it gradually went away, but yeah, I was pretty happy.
Hooking up with this bloke, I mean, we know how well credentialed he is, but it's a solid pairing, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is his backyard as well. This is where he's from. So there's not many better around here. So he did really well.
Right. Well, there's only one thing that remains here. You've got to head to the podium. Congrats.
We do. Thank you. Thank you.
Some fine work from Greg Rust down there. They'll make their way out to the podium, which is just behind the race control facility here at Queensland Raceway. Thomas, some good drives in that. Recovery was the story of the day, wasn't it, for both Jackson Evans and Declan Fraser in the back half of that. To recover from 25 seconds of a drive through penalty, they finished 40 and 53 seconds off the lead in a green flag run. That's a decent recovery from a trip up mid-race.
And these are the races when you have that go wrong. That's what's going to count when we get to the back end of the championship. And our leaders in the Pro-Am in the championship are Jackson Evans and Elliott Shute. So if you can say that you've had a drive through and you've had a few things go wrong and you still finish on the podium, a bad result being a third place, it's still great points.
Let's go and celebrate that one, shall we? The celebrations will be down at the podium. Here's Rusty.
Richard, thank you very much. It is time for the podium presentation for Race 1 of the 2025 GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS at the GT Festival Queensland. Presenting the trophies is Marcel Bode, the Commercial Manager Motorsport Pacific for Pirelli. Please welcome the top 3 place cars for the Pro-Am class. In third place, Jackson Evans and Elliott Shute from Arise Racing GT in the Ferrari. In second position this afternoon, driving the 66, Jaden Ojeda and Paul Lucidi. Well done to the Tigani Motorsport pairing. And in first place this afternoon, driving the 888 Audi, Brock Feeney and Brad Schumacher for Kelso Electrical Team NPC. They collect their trophies. Good crowd in attendance here at Queensland Raceway as well. Little moment for our media to, quite rightly, grab a photo and some vision to capture the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, your GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS Pro-Am winners. Drivers, one thing remains. Time for the celebrations.
Now that we have done the dance for our Pro-Am winners there, we're going to do a quick reset for you and get ready for the podium for the Am class. How about a round of applause for everyone who's gathered here with us for our Pro-Am podium finishers and our winners there. Time now to welcome the top 3 place cars for the Am class. Third place this afternoon, please put your hands together. James Konduras and Theo Konduras, ladies and gentlemen, for Superbarns Supermarkets and Tagani Motorsport. Second place, driving the 111 Racing entry. Make some noise for Darren Curry and Grant Donaldson, everybody. And your winner in the Am class, ladies and gentlemen, in the OnlyFans Team MPC Audi, Renee Gracie. Good to see some young fans here. Got lots of people capturing the moment. All right. Your GT World Challenge Australia powered by AWS Am class winners. Drivers, let those celebrations get underway. Oh, saving it for later. Saving the champagne for later. Right, we reset for the final one here. Please welcome your top placed car in the trophy class. This afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, driving the number 24 for KFC Team MPC. Make some noise for Gary Higgin and Paul Stokel. Rock solid combination, this one. We'll get them up on the top step of the podium here. Our podium dance for the GT World Challenge Australia powered by AWS is almost done. We have more racing to come your way here, of course, this afternoon for the fans here at the circuit and those watching on the screens of 7. Ladies and gentlemen, nice round of applause for your trophy class winners this afternoon. Drivers, enjoy the celebrations. And we're clear.
Nice work, Rusty at his finest when there's a podium and some champagne in town. That is GT World Challenge Australia powered by AWS done. They're back tomorrow for more here at Queensland Raceway. We're going to take a short break though. First, focus Radical Cup Australia from GT cars to sports cars. They're coming your way next.